poor wheelchair girl told the billionaire, "Please don't adopt me, adopt my mom instead." The rain hammered against the broken tin roof of a tiny, dimly lit room where 12-year-old Aisha sat in her wheelchair, clutching a thin blanket that barely kept her warm, waiting for her mother to return from a 14-hour shift at the garment factory. She looked fragile, too fragile for the storms life threw at her, yet her eyes still held a spark, a quiet bravery carved out by years of pain, poverty, and heartbreak. Her legs, weakened since birth by a condition they could never afford to treat, trembled whenever she tried to stand, but her spirit never wavered. Tonight, though, she felt a strange heaviness in her chest, because something unexpected was about to happen, something that began earlier that afternoon, when a black luxury car had rolled through their slum, drawing stares from every direction. The car belonged to Zayden Murad, a billionaire known across the country for his ruthless business decisions and distant personality, a man who had everything except joy, companionship, or a family he could call his own. He had come searching for a girl he had seen in a viral video, a video of Aisha trying to sell handmade paper flowers to feed her mother, refusing charity and insisting on earning every rupee. That resilience struck something deep inside him. He had arrived at the slum to find her, imagining a quick act of kindness, perhaps offering a scholarship or medical treatment. But when he finally saw her, frail, polite, and carrying eyes too wise for her age, he felt something shift inside him, something he hadn't felt in years. Compassion that wasn't forced, kindness that wasn't calculated. Her mother, Mayim, had rushed home early that day, fearing something was wrong when neighbors told her a billionaire was asking for her daughter. She arrived breathless, apologizing unnecessarily, wiping sweat and tears at the same time while trying to stand straight despite her exhaustion. She bowed her head, ashamed of her poverty, but Zayden saw something in her he rarely saw in the wealthy: dignity without money, pride without arrogance, love without limits. He told them he wanted to help, really help, and offered immediately to adopt Aisha, promising her the best doctors, the best education, the best future money could buy. The room froze. Mayim stared, shocked, unable to speak. Tears filled her eyes, not out of joy, but panic. She knew that accepting would save her daughter physically, but destroy her emotionally, for Aisha's greatest fear was losing the only person who loved her. The silence stretched until Aisha finally lifted her trembling hand, motioning for her mother to sit beside her. Then, with a voice soft but steady, she turned to the billionaire and said something he could never have predicted. "Sir, please don't adopt me. Adopt my mom instead." Zayden blinked, stunned. Mayim gasped, covering her mouth. The little girl continued, tears rolling down her cheeks as she spoke. "My mom works every day without resting. She never buys food for herself. She never complains. She deserves a life where someone takes care of her. If you take me, she will be left alone. I don't need fancy things. I just need her." Her words were more powerful than any business speech the billionaire had ever heard. For the first time in years, something cracked open in him, shaking loose the loneliness he had buried beneath wealth and steel walls. Mayim cried harder, shaking her head, telling her daughter that she would rather die poor than be separated from her. But Aisha looked at her with innocent sincerity and said, "Mom, you always sacrifice for me. Let me sacrifice once for you." The billionaire wasn't used to emotions, but he felt something burn behind his eyes. He sat down on the dusty ground beside them, ignoring the expensive suit he wore, and whispered, "Aisha, why is your happiness not about what you get, but what your mother receives?" Aisha looked at him as though he were asking the simplest question in the world. "Because she is my legs, my strength, my everything. If you help only me, then you are taking away the person who gives me life every day." The billionaire had seen greed, corruption, and selfishness every day of his life, but never had he seen a child who wanted nothing for herself, only for her mother. He asked Mayim gently why she hadn't sought help earlier, why she hadn't told anyone about their struggles. She replied that she didn't want pity, only dignity, and that she believed God watches over the patient. Aisha nodded proudly, adding, "My mom is the strongest woman you will ever meet." The billionaire sat speechless, overwhelmed by their love for each other. He realized something that night. He hadn't come to save a poor child. He had come to learn what true humanity looked like. As the rain slowed outside, he made a promise, though he held it back for now. But in his heart, he already knew, he wouldn't be adopting a child. He would be adopting a family. The next morning, the sun rose slowly over the slum, casting soft golden light across narrow pathways and rusty roofs, but inside Aisha and Mariam's small room, the atmosphere trembled with uncertainty. Neither had slept much. Mariam had stayed awake in fear of losing her daughter, and Aisha had stayed awake in fear that her plea had offended the billionaire. Meanwhile, Zaidan Murad had spent the night unable to silence the echo of Aisha's words in his mind. "Adopt my mom instead." No business deal, no negotiation, no boardroom had ever shaken him like that simple sentence spoken by a frail girl who thought more about her mother's happiness than her own survival. By mid-morning, the black luxury car returned, but this time, the billionaire wasn't alone. He brought a medical team, legal advisors, and his personal assistant, who looked confused but prepared. The neighbors gathered around as curiosity grew. Aisha saw him step out of the car and her heart tightened. Was he here to separate her from her mother? Mariam immediately moved closer to her daughter protectively. But when the billionaire entered their little home, he didn't look cold or distant like before. Instead, he carried an expression none of them had ever seen on him: humility. He sat on the floor again, despite everyone insisting he didn't have to, and placed a folder on the ground. "Aisha," he began softly, "you told me not to adopt you. You told me to adopt your mother instead. And I have thought about your words the entire night." Aisha held her mother's hand tightly. Mariam stared at him, ready to refuse anything that separated them. But then the billionaire continued, "I realized something important. You two are a package. I cannot adopt one of you without hurting the other. So I am not here to take anyone away. I am here to take you both, together." They froze. Aisha's eyes widened. Mariam covered her mouth, choking back tears. The billionaire gently slid the folder toward them. Inside were documents not of adoption, but of guardianship, sponsorship, and complete family integration, papers that ensured Aisha and her mother would live with him, not as charity cases, not as servants, but as respected family members under his full protection. He spoke carefully, fearing they might misunderstand. "I do not want to take Aisha away from you, Mariam. I want to take you away from suffering. Both of you." Mariam's tears poured freely. "But why us?" she whispered. Zaidan inhaled deeply. "Because I have built empires, but I never built a home. I filled my life with wealth, but never warmth. And when I saw your daughter sacrifice her happiness for you, I realized what I had been missing all my life." Aisha let out a shaky breath. "So, you're not taking my mom away?" she asked. "Never," he promised, "unless you both walk with me together." At that moment, the little girl burst into tears, deep, relieved sobs that shook her entire body. Mariam pulled her close, crying with her, holding her daughter as though the world had finally stopped hurting them. But the billionaire wasn't finished. He signaled to the medical team, who stepped forward politely. "Aisha," he said gently, "I want to make sure you walk again. And my doctors believe with surgery and therapy, you have a chance." Aisha gasped. Mariam nearly collapsed from shock. Healing her daughter's legs had always felt like a dream just beyond reach, something too beautiful to even pray for loudly. Is that possible?" Mariam whispered. "Yes," the doctor replied. "Not guaranteed, but possible. And we will try everything." The billionaire continued, "But I will only proceed if you both agree. No pressure, no obligations, just hope." Aisha looked at her mother with trembling excitement. "Mom, is this real?" Mariam cupped her daughter's face. "It's real, my love." And then, with a shaking voice, she turned to the billionaire. We accept. What happened next felt like a miracle unfolding in slow motion. The billionaire moved them into his mansion, an enormous home filled with empty rooms that suddenly had laughter echoing down the halls. Mayim found herself treated with respect she had never known, offered education, a stable job in the billionaire's foundation, and a warm bed for the first time in years. She cried quietly the first night, overwhelmed by how safe she finally felt. Aisha's medical journey began immediately. The billionaire often sat beside her during treatment, watching her determination as she pushed through pain with a courage that humbled even the toughest surgeon. She would look at him sometimes and whisper, "Thank you for giving my mom a life." But he always responded, "No, Aisha, thank you for giving me a family." Months passed. Aisha slowly began to feel strength in her legs, tiny movements at first, then assisted steps, then moments standing on her own. The day she took 3 independent steps, Mayim fainted from joy. The billionaire cried openly, and the world watched a poor girl who begged a billionaire to adopt her mother, become a symbol of love stronger than poverty, stronger than disability, stronger than fate. By the end of the year, the billionaire legally declared them his family, not by blood, but by choice, the purest form of love. And every person who heard their story felt the same thing: hope. If this story touched your heart, please subscribe to the channel. Your support helps us bring more emotional, inspiring stories like this to life. Thank you for watching till the end.